I'm Will Hedrick.
And I'm Jordan Schaffer.
And this is Dog Years and Timestamps, a book club podcast.
The end of Vern.
End of Vern. Went to Columbia.
Yeah. You think it's like the end of the series probably? You think he'll write anymore? I could see maybe him writing another one, like them meeting up, but I mean, why?
Yeah, I think that's the bigger question is like, why, not how, as far as that goes. Because, something could be done. Yeah. It could be the adventures of Vern in South America.
Or the new constable's bad.
Right.
Bad to the bone.
Yeah. Or, they reunite and go on an adventure or whatever it is.
Yeah, because Squib's already matured pretty heavily, once he started WWVD.
Mm-hmm. It could be like Squib at, New Orleans University. And, but I just don't, but why?
Professor Squib.
Oh, Professor
that'll
Squib,
be the
Professor
twist.
of Dragon Studies.
Well, maybe paleontology, right? No. Yeah, they've been around that long. He never talked about fighting dinosaurs, though, did he?
I don't remember him ever saying anything about that. That is another thing. Why aren't there any dragon bones being dug up?
Oh, I heard a theory about this because they're hollow, like they're light bones, so they would deteriorate more likely in the ground.
Mm.
Which was good enough for me. Like, okay, dragons could be real.
Well, I just mean in this book.
Well, that's why. Yeah, dude. Anything about dragons being real, I will just listen to anybody talk about it. Yeah, just like, well, there's always been a story of a dragon in every culture, and they've never talked before. So how did they all come up with the same dragon?
Right.
But
because the idea of a giant lizard is cool.
Yeah, and I think everybody has some experience with that. If not, well, I don't know. Did we have giant lizards in North America? I guess, and we're not.
Is that part of a Native American legend? I have no idea. I've never looked into that.
Interesting.
Not to find out.
I know that there was one tribe that had a theory that the entire Earth was on the back of a tortoise flying through space, which is pretty cool. I like that. I like that more than a globe. But no, that'd be fun.
Let's see. I'm looking up Native American dragons. Well, there's that one dragon god that's South American, Quetzalcoatl or whatever.
Oh.
But I don't know about North American, Native American dragon gods.
We just debunked the whole every culture has a story about dragons theory.
The piasa or piasa bird is a Native American dragon depicted in one of two murals painted by Native Americans on bluffs above the Mississippi River. So
oh my gosh.
There's dragons even in North America, apparently.
The Mississippi dragon.
The piasa.
The piasa.
That's the sound that it makes whenever it's flying into battle. Piasa!
Does it have an artist's rendering of it?
There's some... Looks like the... I guess the original murals or whatever.
Oh, four-legged.
It looks kind of goofy, but it also looks like, somebody without a lot of art tools painting on the side of a cliff. So I can't really fault them for that.
Yeah, I mean, I saw a brand new artist representation of Anubis's brother, who's an evil deity, Anubis, a new house, and it was freaking crazy. If their imaginations were running wild enough to let them see stuff like that, I can only imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I really like this book. When I was listening to it today at work, finishing it up, I was laughing, throughout it. I thought that it didn't really overdo the stuff that it said, in the hook page. I thought that drinking and smoking was going to be a huge part of it, and it's just it honestly was just kind of it just sort of was fueling because of his depression or whatever. So
right.
It was a vehicle to kind of address drinking and depression, and I guess
well,
I don't
even
really
then
know.
I don't think they tried to address it.
They
was
really
just
don't even. Yeah, you're right. They
part
don't
of
even talk
the
about
flavor text about Vern.
Yeah.
Not even an important part of his character. Just kind of
he was drinking
he's sad
because
and he
was
drinks
depressed,
a lot, and then
so.
that's one of the things that Squib has to run for him. And,
right. that like, you know, that was it, but that was on the back, so I thought like, well, maybe it's gonna be kind of like I'm a drunk dragon flying through the, you know, kind of like in Hancock, how he was drunk the whole time, you know, and then he built some moral fiber or whatever, and then was a, you know, a goody good guy, a goody good guy, a nerd. But I didn't think it was overdone. I enjoyed it a lot. It didn't go down exactly how we predicted, which was nice. But pretty close. Yeah. Not like crazy far off.
Right. You know, I figured that they would have to all run off together because you don't just get away from the FBI like that. You know, like they were involved. Squib's blood and body parts were all over that hotel. Mm-hmm. So something's going to get traced back at some point, right? And maybe that could be, you know, the jumping off point for a sequel if he decided to do a sequel. But but like still, like it's just kind of cheap in that way. Yeah, which is fine. You know, like I think we went into this book never thinking that it was ever going to be like some great epic or anything like that. It was just going to be fun. Plot. And it was just fun. Yeah, which is totally fine. That's, you know, what we were looking for out of it. I enjoyed it. I don't regret reading it. That was, you know, an example of like a small plot point that was kind of like, okay, whatever. The FBI really aren't going to try and like do anything with any of these people in the town. Yeah. They're not going to fucking... It was,
sorry, go on.
They're not going to like search anything. Yeah. You know?
But yeah, it didn't seem like they were really all that invested, even though there was like a bombing on the news, you know? Like the New Orleans bombing. Right. I liked how tough Vern was though. And it was, to me, it was kind of funny that how like... It was almost like it was like extra gory, like when they killed the constable, just because like he was thinking about how like, oh, I don't even have my arm anymore and it's gushing blood.
Right. It was pretty fitting for his character, who's, you know, purportedly soulless, and, you know, just like if there is like a good and evil in the universe, he's like the incarnation of evil, you know? And so it fits that he wouldn't be like feeling any of it and would be able to look at it like, you know, in a sort of like anti-hubris way where he's just sort of laughing at like, oh shit, he just bit through my vest without even, you know, stopping. Oh, dude. He's wearing like a Kevlar vest and stuff like that, you know? And so
I don't know why I didn't even think that mattered. Like I
was like, you thought he was just wearing just like a regular old vest.
I just didn't think anything would stand the test of Vern. Honestly, like no, you're right though. It was, dang.
And so him to like, you know, be able to have that internal monologue and even laugh at himself not being able to fight back at this last moment where he's getting torn apart by the alligators was pretty fitting of his character. I thought.
Especially, that's a good point. I didn't really think about it that way. I just sort of thought like, oh, this is gruesome. Yeah. But when you put it like that, it's like definitely like, I wonder what a psychopath would think if they were getting like, you know, dismembered.
Yeah. Weird. And he even like acknowledged it, you know, in the moments leading up to it. It's like, well, I'm not going to be able to fight off all these alligators, so I'm dead. Maybe if I kill the first one, they'll get scared. No, they're still coming. Well, okay, I'm going to keep fighting.
I liked that little like kind of twist of him like, I have subjects and like all his alligator buddies came to help. I was like, oh, that's fun. Right. Wasn't a waste of time wrestling them. And I did like the part Squib like dressed up in Vern's scales, right? To like
he had it on just because like he was bringing it back with him because he knew that Vern would want to dispose of it because he didn't want to leave anything behind. Sure. But he was wearing it just because he was just like a dumb teenager. He's like, oh, this will be
the
cool.
easiest way to carry it.
I'll wear this. Yeah. And then had to abandon it in the little wrestling match he had with Hook for a second there.
Freaking Hook. He cut off 2 of Squib's toes, right?
3 of them, I think.
Ooh, that's too many.
Yeah.
I was like, 2 seems okay.
The other part that I had like a small problem with was whenever they're escaping from the hotel and Vern is content thinking that he killed Hook, when there was clear visual evidence to anybody looking at the situation. Hook standing there at the mouth of an open safe. You spit the fire, the safe is closed, and you don't see Hook there. He's probably in the fucking safe, dude.
Incinerated. He closed the safe to save the money.
Oh, okay. It's just, that was like a little like stupid. And I couldn't get behind that bit.
Yeah, for him being so... Do you think he's clever in the fact that he survived this long, or do you think he might be like a luck dragon and he's just lucky?
I think you could probably say both.
Because that's the...
But he's definitely not like ignorant of the way things work in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, he knows about
you're right.
cable, and I mean, he has cable. I'm sure with all the time that he's watched at least one bank heist movie. He knows what a safe looks like.
The same, if not more, than I feel like we've been.
It was just a dumb piece right there, I thought. There was a couple of things that seemed to fall apart at the end. Those two things that I already brought up. And there was a weird thing where, like, all of a sudden the author was, like, using these weird terms and abbreviations and just, like, things that hadn't been used at all in the entirety of the book prior.
Oh, gotcha.
And then just suddenly we're boom, 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 like, constantly. And I was like, did I know you're not a young guy. It's not like you haven't heard that term before, but suddenly you're just, like, you just found, like, whenever you hear a word for the first time, you learn its description, and you're like, oh, maybe I'll try to use this a little bit more often, you know. I'll put this into my vocabulary and diversify my vocabulary. But then for the first month, inevitably, you're saying it all the time, you know. It sort of felt like that, and I was like, where is this fucking coming from, man?
Yeah, I guess maybe I didn't notice, or maybe was it what do you know what the word was, or was it just kind of like a Cajun word or like an accent?
No, they were like weird. Well, I guess maybe some of them could be used in a Cajun sense because, you know, Cajun is, you know, half French, but like vis-a-vis was being used a lot. All of a sudden, there was a couple of other words and phrases that they were using, like the abbreviations for, not etc., but like that as an example, you know, an abbreviated phrase that, you know, has taken on more or less its own meaning with, you know, culture. And it was just all of a sudden in the last 3 chapters, mostly in the big chapter.
Okay.
They were just all over the place, and enough for me to notice it and say, what is fucking going on all of a sudden? And so those 3 things, I was like, was this section of the book written considerably later and in a rush? Like, it was just weird to me all of a sudden. It was enough of a change that it felt like something happened.
In real life.
Yeah.
Outside of
it was just odd to me.
Interesting. I'll have to re-listen to that. Vern was bulletproof, right?
More or less.
Yeah.
And depending on the area as well. Yeah. Like there was one mention of whenever the fight first starts and the sniper chick pops him in the chest, but it does like nothing. And he comments in his mind, well, that my chest plate is basically unbreakable. But then, you know, he got popped by Hook in the hotel with the 50 cal on the forehead, and it chipped off a scale and made him bleed. And so, you know, it seems like he's got different areas of vulnerability.
Yeah. I mean, he seemed to just kind of very barely scrape by every time. Like like the mom even said you need a blood transfusion.
Right.
Like, but he was just like, no, I'll be okay. And
right.
then, you know, he toughed it out. So
just
I
needs
think
some
it might
oil.
be a luck dragon, you know?
Right.
Is that a thing? I mean, I'm making it a thing. I feel like a luck dragon would be white, though.
Yeah, maybe.
An albino.
Something irregularly colored.
Yeah. God, an albino dragon? Would that be insane or what?
I've seen some in video games.
Was it insane?
Well, there's the white dragon in the Gringotts.
Oh, yeah, but that one was all tortured and
I mean, it was only white because it was underground pigment. For like 1,000 years.
What a sad! I was laughing.
Yeah, that was one of like the saddest bits of the entire series. I almost couldn't stand that.
Yeah,
bit.
It just made you like, fuck goblins, dude.
Yeah,
they
right.
suck.
Yeah. But,
yeah, dude, they really make you not like goblins in that last little bit.
Yeah.
They're like, we're not gonna partake in the wizarding war, so we're just gonna let whoever get their money out.
Right.
You know, they could control the money. They could just stop Voldemort, probably.
Probably.
Doesn't matter. Different dragons.
Yeah.
We should do a Harry Potter sum up fan cast. That'd be fun since I've just re-listened to those many. I've listened to them once through, and starting my second time through.
Oh, nice.
It's just fun background noise. Makes me happy.
Yeah.
Just like this book did, honestly. And I was thinking this would go in my like background replay list. You know, because you know it was simple. You know, you're never really gonna miss all that much.
Right.
Yeah, I just really liked it.
Yeah,
So I'm glad we did. I might have to check out Artemis Fowl, especially because that's a pretty, like, that's a much longer series, right?
It's probably like 8 or 9 books, I would guess. I really don't know.
Me neither. And I don't even know what it's about. I feel like if I had to guess, it would be about a magic boy, like a sorcerer boy.
I think isn't there like an owl on the first cover or something like that?
I don't know.
Let's see.
I'm just imagining like gemstones locking over like an old tome kind of cover. That's the cover I imagine.
9 books.
Good guess, dude.
And it looks like the first one just looks like a book. It literally just looks like a book. It's got like a lock on it. It just looks like a book. Cool. Maybe they all look like that. I don't know where I'm getting the owl from. Maybe just from fowl.
Bird.
But it's spelt fowl like bird.
Yeah.
FOWL.
That's for sure a recurring joke.
Well, let's see. So the fucking Wikipedia page. Artemis Fowl is a series of 8 fantasy novels. But then whenever I counted them out here in the listing, there was 9. Huh. So maybe there's...
It's like Harry Potter.
Like an offshoot,
books,
like a Cursed Child or whatever that
then the
one
Fantastic
was.
Beast. I don't think there's a book for those yet.
Yeah, I think those are just screenplays. And probably for the worse. But...
Can you read a screenplay?
I'm sure somebody's posted it somewhere online. Probably.
No, I mean, like, can you personally read a screenplay, like, for entertainment or for fun? Like, would you enjoy reading one? Is more, I guess, the question I want to ask.
I don't know.
I tried reading the Cursed Child, like, screenplay, it was just weird, and I didn't commit. I feel like I could have committed and really liked the characters with that particular story, but there was another book that I bought that was just kind of a random book that I picked up somewhere, and it turned out to be a screenplay, and I was disappointed because I could not get into it at all.
I think I tried to once, just of like a movie that I had seen, and I was looking, back when there was less to do, and I would just waste my time going down like internet rabbit holes, and I came across one. I was like, I'm going to see if I can read this. And like 3 hours later, I was only halfway through, and I was like, okay, I think I'm done.
I still go down internet rabbit holes. Should I be over that? Should I be over that by now? That's all I do.
A lot of people do. And that's why all that internet content is still out there. You can still do it.
So I'm hoping people do with us.
Yeah.
They fall down the rabbit hole.
And listen to all 87 of our episodes or whatever it is now.
All of our glorious opinions on novels and anime and movies.
Very
the
true.
Arts. We should rename this podcast Dog Ears and Timestamps.
Artscast.
Artscast.
Right.
This makes me feel like I could write a book, kind of, like...
Well, you literally can.
Makes me feel like I could write a successful book.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, that's probably like the lottery, right? Or even more rare than the lottery.
Maybe.
I know being like a Stephen King or like a J.K. Rowling would be.
To find immense success would be
right.
Next to impossible. In the same way that to find immense success in the NFL would be next to impossible.
Yeah.
Or to become the president statistically is like next to impossible for your average. For if you took all Americans into account.
Very true. There have only been 52 of them, right?
Our current great leader is 53.
Oh,
I don't know.
It was like it's either 48 or over 50. Like I know they missed the. I'm sure he was upset. I feel like it's less than 50.
Oh, 45.
Whoa.
We were way
got
off.
A 5.
I got no idea what's going on.
Well, good job. He ended on a 5. That's pretty cool. Yeah, dude, that's even more rare.
But I guess there's 52 presidencies. Huh. Let's see.
So
who's the 52nd president? Grover Cleveland served 2 non-consecutive terms in office, the only president to have done so, and is therefore counted as the 22nd and 24th. The 45th and current president is Donald Trump. So what is this question? Who is the 52nd president? Whatever, Google, you're fucking stupid. So there's 45 presidents.
Okay, yeah.
With Cleveland being 2 of them because he didn't have successive terms.
I would be so mad if I got that question wrong in poli-sci because my teacher was like, well, actually, in Cleveland.
Right, no, right. That is definitely the trick question that somebody would be gotten on, or that a poli-sci professor would try to use.
You took poli-sci, right? Was that your major?
No.
Okay.
I did take it in college because it was part of just like, course
Yeah.
basics.
Mm-hmm.
Aced it.
Aced it.
Barely even went to class.
I sucked so bad at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least with the local government. I did okay in like the big government.
Yeah. I don't remember most of it. I just
me neither.
know that like I totally and like just fucking annihilated it and I was almost never there.
Yeah,
And I attribute that to my senior year in high school government and economics teacher, Mrs. Kelly, because I did truly learn something every day in that class.
I feel like we obviously taking 12 years of like English classes in, just grade school.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we kind of underestimate how much stuff that we learned, because you and I paid attention. It's not like we always like fucked off or fucked around or whatever, like didn't listen or didn't do our work or whatever. So like we learned quite a bit of terminology and stuff, and like kind of not really like flexing that knowledge here or anything, but like bringing it back up and kind of like getting into books further than I ever did in school, has been really fun for me. It's been really making me enjoy just like breaking down stories. For whatever reason, I feel like not with magic tricks, but with like lots of other things like comedy, I really enjoy like learning all about the person and why they would kind of make a joke like that.
Yeah.
That's kind of dumb. And like I really like all the behind Hollywood, like the behind baseball sort of stuff, like how much money they're making and like when they need to switch to a different like pay grade so that they can move up to like when are they ready to do theaters and like all this stuff that only probably select few people like me nerds about it.
Well, it's
really...
that next level of appreciation, right?
Yeah.
So
And
like you can like be on the ground floor of just being like, I like going to see comedy because it's funny and whatever, it takes my mind off of work for whatever it is, and then you start finding like your favorite comics that you start to follow, and maybe someone's got a podcast that you now listen to because you liked them on stage, and you have like these different levels of fandom and appreciation for the craft.
I'm definitely like leveling up in like my reading fandom, because like I'm enjoying just breaking down stories more and thinking about them as like a whole, and how like you would have had to conceptualize all of that to even begin to write it.
Right.
And I haven't done any like extensive research into like authors and their like writing method. That might be something I wonder if I'd still find that as interesting as like the story itself, but might be something to explore. But I don't know. I guess I feel like, kind of breaking them all down with you and like talking about them has been really, really like good for me. Like it's been a lot of fun, and it like, I guess in the same way that like I don't try to figure out like a magic trick. That's why I said like not with magic, but like, I feel like I don't do that necessarily with stories either. Like I enjoy it after I know everything, but I don't feel like I actively try and figure out what's going to happen. Like every time we make a prediction, I have like a lot of trouble coming up with something. Yeah. So I wonder if like maybe I don't know if I could write a book if if I don't have like the ability to come up with something like.
Well, I think maybe that you can enjoy something
different
like in the moment as you're reading, and then and not have, because most of the time I'm not analyzing as I'm reading.
Right. I feel like we only
unless like something takes me out. Like I was mentioning with, the last 3 chapters of this one, where I just started noticing these phrases that were suddenly in abundance and were not anywhere previously. And we only had one new character that we were only in Ivory's head for literally one sentence. And so it didn't make any sense, and so that took me out, and then I started, Analyze Brain came on. But most of the time, if I'm enjoying it or I'm bought into it, I'm not analyzing in the moment. Very quickly after I like close the book and put it down, then I start doing that, But yeah, I think that you can, have that switch. I don't think that you have to be able to come up with like a prediction within the next 5 seconds of having finished a paragraph,
Yeah, and I'm sure coming up with a prediction for the ending of something that's already been written versus, creating a story to get to an ending with your own imagination is probably different,
Right.
I
think it also has to be like if because I'm sure that I've probably come up with a prediction while I was reading before, but that's probably because it was being telegraphed to me what was going to happen. Right. It was like pretty obvious that we were going to go down this route, and I could see it from the way that everything was developing. So then I'm like, oh, okay, now I see what's going on because you're literally telling me this is what's going to happen.
Yeah, like in the last Aragon book, the what was that one called?
Oh God, what was that one called? Was that one called Inheritance?
Yeah, it was. I think
so. It was the green one.
It was either Inheritance or like another weird magic word.
So it was Aragon, Eldest, Brissinger, and Inheritance. I think it was Inheritance. I think he just closed out the Inheritance cycle with the titular title.
Well, that one
was not good.
Well, you kind of knew how he was going to beat Galbatorix at the end, and I don't want to say like I called it, but I like as he started to try and come up with a plan, I was like, well, I know how he's going to get him. Like, and then when it happened, I was like, fuck yes. Like, that's the only way it could have happened because that's the way I said it was going to. No, not really. But like, I remember thinking like, yes, like I'm glad it happened that way because that's the way that made sense to me. So it was like,
and I think that even if something could only ever happen one way like that, if it's still like built up to properly and then executed very well, then you can still get satisfaction out of it, even if you knew it from the beginning. Because like in that book, like you said, it could only have happened that way.
Right.
And so like probably everybody knew it except for like maybe like the 5-year-old that was reading that series. And that was like his first series and therefore wasn't used to the way that stories tend to flow.
Yeah.
But it was still in that moment satisfying because it was like, yeah, duh. Obviously it had to happen this way. And, and in
how
some
did
cases.
Galbatorix not even see
right. But even like in that situation, sometimes when something can only happen one way, you can then build it up to mean that just makes it that much more difficult to get to that point for that character, Yeah. Because if like,
to do it the right way, I can imagine it would make it that much more difficult to get there.
Yeah.
Are you saying on like a creative level or just like a...
No, for the character, like in world.
Okay.
Can sometimes be more difficult because it can only be that way.
Oh, good point.
And so that can, that can mean that like if it can only be that way, that means that the enemy knows it can only be that way and they're going to take measures to try and stop you from getting there. Or
like
that if it can only be that way, it's because it's the most difficult thing. Or, something like that. It can be built up in that fashion.
Yeah.
But the rest of that book was not good. It was just not good. It's just such a shame.
Yeah. I liked our little revisit to the world, though. Because I feel like that book influenced a lot of how I think about... definitely how I think about dragons. I know that's silly, but like how I think about a relationship. Like
it's pretty formative. It was one of the first, if not only, franchises that I got into that was centered around dragons. Because like there's dragons in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
They're basically non-existent by the time we get to any of the characters that we deal with.
And there were no riders, right? Like nobody rode a dragon in Lord of the Rings, correct?
Not that I am aware of. And I'm pretty aware.
You'd be the expert. I feel like that's a relatively like not new concept because I know Dragon Riders of Pern was out before Aragon, and
right.
I don't know how the Dragon Riders in that series work, but Aragon kind of formalized how I thought of dragons, why I thought they were so awesome, and they're just like this ever growing, ever powerful, like just magical without reason.
The series really captured your imagination with everything that was in it, really.
And that's kind of why with this book, like I kept misjudging how big Vern was, but like I was satisfied with how strong he was because that fit, and I kind of liked that he didn't know how his magic worked because it was like it never let a scientist dice me up and figure it out. Like I never wanted to know that bad.
Yeah.
So that was a funny little, not cop out, I don't want to say, but it might have been. So he didn't have to write too much behind how it worked, but especially because it seemed like his fire came either from magic or from fat or from oil. He could drink oil.
He would.
It seemed like he could make his fire from like any sort of combustible type.
Well, it seemed like, the way that I read that bit whenever it was, because there was a part where it went through the internal process of how everything happened. And then at the end of the paragraph said, but Vern didn't know any of this. It was literally oil, right? But he would drink the oil and then he could convert that into whatever it is that his body needed. Like, because he sleeps for like 3 days, in the oil to help like regenerate or whatever. I guess it's like his main fuel source basically as far as like nutrients go.
Dragons are
But
made
then
of
like
oil.
he would like store it as fat and reconvert it back to oil and then be able to,
Maybe
spit it up with like, and he, click his molars to have like an ignition spark and a pilot light and then he could just spit out the oil that he had reconverted from his fat stores.
Yeah, maybe kind of like how like whales and blubber, that was like an early oil source. Maybe that's kind of the idea.
Yeah, more or less.
Because like fat is, I mean,
humpback whales are making a big comeback. Side note.
They're making a comeback?
Yeah.
Like people are killing them more?
No.
Oh.
Like they're making a comeback from not being killed.
I thought you meant like the other way, like people were starting to hunt them again.
Oh, no, it's like, no.
That's not good, probably.
I meant just humpback whales, the species, humpback whales.
Oh, were people hunting them or were people hunting
other whales? I think
whales?
it was like, I don't remember how long ago, but like a decade ago, there was like only 450 left, and now there's like over 25,000.
And those whales blow my mind. I don't know if I've ever been around a whale that big. Maybe I've been around a humpback.
I've seen them out like in the Gulf.
Yeah?
But I've never been like nearby one.
Yeah, I know I've been in boats like around whales, just like in Alaska. That was always like that was almost like it happened almost like every time. I feel like you go on a boat in Alaska.
Yeah,
there's like
they're like contractually obligated to make an appearance.
A whale, yeah, I was like,
it's part of they have this deal with the Alaskan Tourism Bureau.
Or like an otter, just working on his little like table, his
right.
Cute little tummy.
Right, otters are the best.
Yeah, otters are dope.
Wish I was an otter sometimes.
That's Hermione's Patronus.
It is.
I would not have gotten that answer correct if you had asked me what was Hermione's Patronus had you asked me
if we hadn't led with otter. 2 weeks. Yeah, that's right, because you did just re-listen.
Yeah, man, this, like I was saying, I think this book will go in my like re-listen to casually kind of file. And I know I've said that about a lot of books. Yeah,
just to like pull up and be done with inside of 2 days or whatever. Yeah, I can totally see that. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been going down this kind of heavier like reading kick where I've only been listening to like our book or like Harry Potter. I'm like, I was telling you about another book that I got for a bit of like extra reading, listening. And I'm a little nervous to try it because like I'm always like a little hesitant to start a new book because I feel like you're kind of rolling the dice, which is silly. I shouldn't think of it like that. I should just try and think of it as like a positive experience because it'll be a fun book. And then it'll be better. But I do kind of have this like hesitance to start a book and worry that like it might not be good and so like I'm a little nervous for that reason. I'm a little nervous because it's like a scary theme book but
I'm always hesitant anytime I'm about to start a new thing that I know is a time investment. If it's a new game franchise or a new anime or a new book or whatever. Yeah, I'm always a little bit hesitant thinking like, what if I don't like this and then I've wasted $60 because this isn't a good game or it's not a game that I enjoy. Right. Or, I get halfway through and then I realize I really just don't want to fuck with this anymore, I think that's reasonable.
Yeah, no, that's thanks. Now I feel better.
Like I played like 4 hours of Sekiro, and I don't think I'm ever going to pick that back up because I'm just never going to be able to make any progress on that game. It's too fucking difficult.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to spend one of my credits on like a scary book. What was the game?
Sekiro. It's from the same developers that do the Souls games, those notoriously difficult games. And I thought like, okay, I'll try and give it a shot. This isn't an aesthetic that I like. Maybe. Fuck that game, dude. That game is for assholes.
Dude, you don't play any scary games, right?
No, I almost outright refused to.
Yeah,
Reed tried to get me to one time because he was playing Silent Hill Homecoming.
Dude, those are like supposedly the most notoriously like
they're
terrifying.
Just like fucked up, and he had gotten to a certain point, but something happened, like his 360 corrupted his save. And then he and Amy were going out of town for something. Oh. And so he was like, hey, could you do me a favor while I'm out of town? If you can just get to this point of the game, that's where I had ended. And then that'd be super great. I would really appreciate it. I was like, yeah, I'll try to find some time to do that. And so the next day I tried to play like 5 minutes and I texted him, not fucking happening, dude.
Not playing that.
Not gonna fucking do this shit.
Yeah. I mean, I used to be like afraid to even play like Diablo 2 because I was scared of the guy dying. I didn't want to die and be like, no, I died and I suck. And I think that was probably more what it was, but I was like, I was kind of like afraid to go get killed by these fucking monsters that run out of nowhere from like.
Well, certainly back then when we were younger, difficulty was a fear thing.
Yeah,
especially like the first Diablo was a very difficult game, and It was, and you mostly played it by yourself. I don't think that they had multiplayer running on the first one that I can remember. Maybe they did.
I mean,
but even if they did,
really
like we didn't all have,
yeah.
Internet wasn't. I mean, internet was there, but it was dial-up. You paid for minutes. We weren't, and it took up a phone line. The likelihood that we could get together an online party to play with each other and not have our parents yelling at us for taking up the phone line for several hours was literally zero.
Yeah.
And so you'd be playing this game by yourself. The levels are dark. The butcher is this giant asshole who kills you in one hit. You know?
Fresh meat.
It is scary.
Yeah. And I just like, Reed would always kind of like play those games like, not for me, but like I would kind of watch it.
You always did like watching games.
And I mean, I do it now. I was just saying, like, I've watched this guy do a lot of like play a lot of scary games, and like the fun ones for me are like these ones that are like psychologically trying to fuck you up. I don't know why I like them, but they're just, it's just creepy, and it kind of gives me like the weird Black Mirror sort of feeling, you know, from those. Have you watched any Black Mirror? But I mean,
no,
you know what I'm talking about though.
It's modern day Twilight Zone.
Yeah, I mean, you get it. So you know the feeling, that weird kind of hollow feeling.
Right.
It's like, I don't know why I like this, but I want to like explore it.
Mm-hmm. I like psychological thrilling stuff.
Yeah. We've done a lot.
I don't like whenever it becomes like horror and like it's trying to scare you.
Yeah.
I don't mind having to like ask myself fucked up questions about what's going on or whatever, like trying to explore whatever that like psyche is that's happening with the crazy person that's murdering somebody or whatever. Yeah. Like, I don't mind having to go to that kind of a place, but then whenever they're like actively trying to scare you and stress you out, I hate that shit.
Yeah, I think I'm interested in it. It just sort of clicked to me maybe why I like it now is because like we've been doing a lot of these other stories, and I haven't really figured out how something is scary. Like I couldn't explain how you would write a scary thing.
Yeah.
I don't understand how to like create the scene or what even really goes into it. So maybe that's what I'm looking for, like some like more understanding of like how it works. Cause I'm really like enjoying it and being like, this is fun. How did they even think of that twisted, dark sort of story, you know? Right. Yeah, maybe that's kind of what I'm looking for.
I think it does take a certain kind of mind for sure to be able to create that.
Yeah.
I can't fathom it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't ever really plan to, but I feel like, you know, in my idea in my head of me writing a book, I would like to have a tense scene, maybe even scary, but that wouldn't be the theme of the book, unless it was like scary in like a ironic way, like a haunted school or whatever that this kid ended up going to, but he's a human, you know, like an anime.
Okay. Yeah.
Like all the anime about that.
Right.
But yeah, man, I think I've said everything I can think of about this book. I can't tell you what...
half of it wasn't even about this book.
I know.
We went off the rails a little bit this episode, but
there
was nothing really to say.
Yeah, I mean that's what the book made us... made me think about a lot of that stuff. I mean, it
obviously sparked... and the general themes, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it was just such a, cotton candy story, which is great.
It was an easy, fun book. Yeah.
It was exactly what I think it was intended to be. Mm-hmm. I don't think that Owen Colfer was like, shooting for the stars and fell short. I think he was aiming for this sort of like, humor-filled, enjoyable young adult novel.
Yeah.
That skewed a little bit more mature.
Yeah.
And I think he nailed that. And
I agree.
Good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Don't have a whole lot to say beyond that, though.
Yeah, no. I mean, he got me as like a fan. Like I said, I think I'll probably check out the Artemis Fowl books. Still don't really know what they're about. Did we end up? I
didn't look at that. I was curious about the book count.
That's okay. I'll figure it out.
Whatever.
But yeah. So we decided
we're going back to The Witcher.
Yeah.
We're just gonna be selfish and we're gonna read the rest of the series.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we want to.
Yeah,
so
we both want to read the rest of the series. It's hard to read more than one book at a time, and it's hard to find a new book for the show and not be worried that it might not work. One, for the show, like in a sense, this book didn't really work for the show because it wasn't really a whole lot to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if we had split it up differently, but that's not something that we can ever know ahead of time.
Yeah, exactly.
Hindsight is the
or that it's even going to be good at all.
Right.
I'll always think about Beacon 23 and what a failure that was. I mean, it gave us plenty to talk about, and so I guess it wasn't a failure. From a certain standpoint as far as the show is concerned. If we've got content, then that's content, whether positive or negative. But we want to read this. We know it's going to be good.
Yeah.
It's it's a good excuse for us to just do a series for once for the show.
Yeah.
And then
we gave it some space with some other stories too. You know?
Yeah. It establishes that as a podcast, we are great fans of The Witcher, and we'll be covering the second season when it comes out in 2021.
Yeah, hopefully early 2021, like January.
Yeah.
Because, their production value must have gone like way up.
Yeah, I'm sure that they've got more of a budget now.
Yeah.
And if they have to show another Kikimora, it's not going to look like absolute garbage.
Yeah. Dude, have you seen Sonic?
No. I was going to go see
really
it
good.
on Valentine's Day. Because I was thinking, what would be the saddest thing that I can do as a single person? Go see Sonic on release day, which is Valentine's Day, by myself. But then, after work, I just couldn't get the willpower to go to the movie and go see it. So instead, I went home, or came home, rather. I'm home right now. Came home and just watched a podcast where people talked about it, which might be even more sad. So it fits the joke, and I will still probably laugh about it for the rest of my life, because I think that's kind of funny.
I heard it was really good, actually. So
I heard that it was as good as could be expected.
Yeah.
Because it was never going to be good. It's a fucking Sonic movie. Sonic is stupid.
Yeah, the games were stupid. Like, the games are so frustrating. Like, you play a Sonic game and you get mad.
Yeah.
So
that's like basically the point.
Same
and not
thing
even
with-
because it's difficult, but because it's just bad.
I got mad
it does
because it
not
was
work very
difficult.
well.
Maybe that's why. Maybe because it was mechanically
Those
difficult.
first few were difficult in the way that old games were difficult, because game design just in general was not always very good back then.
Yeah, the point was to get through the level as fast as you can.
But then, like, Sonic Adventure mechanically didn't work very well.
Yeah.
Sonic Adventure 1 and 2. And though, like, I look back fondly on those games because I had fun playing them, if
you tried
probably
to
like
play
4
it
years
now-
ago, I went back and tried to play again. Mechanically does not work very well. Sonic
Yeah.
06 is famously just like an absolutely broken game. Sometimes you're running and Sonic just stops, but you're on a loop-de-loop, so then you fall and you have to start over the last 5 minutes. Just an absolutely shit game. Sonic sucks.
Yeah.
And so the movie was always going to suck, but it ended up being, as good as it could be, and I think that people enjoy that
They
fact.
reanimated Sonic for the fans. So, did you hear about that?
Yeah. For sure. Hopefully it makes its money back, if only for that sake, because those poor animators suddenly had to just like live at the studio to do that in time.
Yeah. Well, I guess the thing with Sonic is, like, I'm thinking with like new movies and things that are coming out, that might be a fun little influence for a books that we could read. I know I've been talking about Dune. Might be fun to come up with, especially.
Yeah, I think that's going to
read
be
it.
whenever it's a movie that they're doing again, right?
I
They're
think
doing
so.
another movie.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be worthwhile for us to do,
sure.
to read that book.
Yeah, I think
maybe
it'd be
watch
a lot
the
of
old
fun.
movie, even though it's like 8 hours long.
Love the old movie, so that'd be a lot of fun for me.
I think that would be a worthwhile series of episodes for us to do leading up to the movie, the new one, and then we can do one for the movie.
Yeah, and I mean, if anything else, like sparks anybody's like fancy, for lack of a better phrase, like if you see like a movie that maybe might be fun for the show in a book form, like, let us know. Send us you know how to find us at Instagram and Twitter at ears_stamps, and then dogearsandtimestamps@gmail.com. I don't think we told you, but read the first 4 chapters of The Witcher.
There's only 7 chapters. It's like 360 pages, something like that.
Book 4 of The Witcher? Book
3.
Book 3. Hellfire.
Baptism of Fire.
Baptism of Fire. So, yeah, we said 4 chapters through the first 4?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Through the first 4.
Yeah, so we're going to do this in 2 and just have a Witcher overload.
Yeah. We're probably... because we're going to just finish the series.
Yeah.
So we've probably... There's 5 books in total. This is the 3rd book. Or no. Yes, 5. I think, right? Whatever.
Yeah.
So you've probably got another 6 weeks of Witcher.
Yeah, unless we
I think we're
going to
try and cut each book into 2 episodes.
Yeah.
And just kind of get through it.
I'll give y'all updates of the scary book that I'm reading too. So
Yeah.
that'll
there
be
you go.
fun.
Jordan will tell you about the scary book.
And anime.
I won't.
Don't forget to watch your anime.
Yes.
There have been a lot of anime that
We are
have
not
flipped to
too
Netflix
far
too.
off from the end of the 4th season of Boku no Hero Academia, and we will be doing an episode for that as a series up to the point.
So keep up with it. Try to go through this show like as it's coming out, because that's definitely a different way to intake the show.
That is appointment viewing. That show fucking rules.
And it's a different experience when you're appointment viewing rather than binging to get the whole content. You know, like when I watch Dragon Ball Super, I think it's my favorite because I appointment viewed and I anticipated it so hard. You know, and that's part of the beauty of being able to enjoy this show as it's coming out. So I can't wait for that episode. That'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm excited. The 5th season of Shokugeki no Soma coming out spring 2020. Yeah. So that's pretty soon. We're not going to do an episode for that because that's just a single season. We've already talked about the whole show.
But maybe after the next big arc.
We'll mention it, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
But we're not going to have a dedicated episode. Might mention whatever happens in the My Hero show or episode, because that's going to be slightly delayed from the end of this season, I think. Because I want to have Nick on. I don't think he'll be able to make it up here till June. So, but we'll figure out what happens there.
Yeah.
In any case, first 4 chapters, Baptisms of Fire, Witchercast 2020 is back.
Witchercast 2020. I love it. Live, laugh, love. Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I'm Will Hedrick.
I'm Jordan Schaffer.
His dog isn't timestamps.
Witchercast.